Welcome, welcome, grandparents and those who are 55 plus years young who are in support of grandchildren or children of friends and introducing them to the out of doors and introducing them to the natural world. And what I wanted to do today was share a little bit of information about what hinders the wealth equation that you're living from, this notion of well-being and well-living to the nth degree. That's what wealth means. And what we're going to do is take a look at the well-being side of it. And the hinders I'm looking at, because most of the videos that I shoot are from a help perspective. But we also have to appreciate that sometimes we find ourselves in hinder positions, in hinder situations, those things that might be holding us back. And I just wanted to go over those so that you have an appreciation for them and to be able to say, well, how might I not get down this pathway and find a more joyous, appreciative pathway? But if I am down here, it might give me some ideas about how to solve some of these issues that I might encounter. So I'm going to put at the bottom of the video in sort of caption format is the words associated with the letters here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle each one that I talk about. So when you see the word below, you get an appreciation for that word. And so to get started, what I'm going to do is just identify that there is a triangle here and a triangle here. I use a visual language. And what I do is I use that to explain and to describe concepts and practices associated with what I'm attempting to share with you. And I do that because you can pick us up auditory, which is great. You can pick this up if you wanted to write your own notes, but also for some of you, visual language to see it is important as well. And that's why I do it in this fashion. And so I would encourage you, if you want to, is grab a piece of paper, well, stop the video and you can grab a piece of paper and you can draw and write down the words as we go. So before we jump into it, make sure that you subscribe, ring the bell, comment, like, and share so that we can continue to learn together. And questions arise, put them wherever you find this video, and we'll get back to you with a response. Okay, so let's jump into it and let's see where we go. So with the top triangle, what we have is we have the P, the S, and the B. Now, the P refers to purpose. So what is your purpose of life? You have a sense of why you're here. And if you don't have that sense, you're still looking for it, then we have some activities that you can do. But for the most part, I believe you have a sense, because you're going to interact with the grandchildren, there's a purpose of educating, involvement with your grandchildren that you can celebrate as an element of your purpose. And let's use that as part of the story in this unfolding of the triangles and how we look at well-being and the hinders that are associated with it. When you have purpose, you've got a sense of movement. You have a sense of what you are living from, and that's wonderful. The other one that you want to take a look at is the word systems here. In other words, what is it that you are doing? What activities, actions are you taking? They form systems. And some of those systems you do every day, like you get up and maybe you shower or you have your breakfast first or vice versa. On Sundays, you might flip it around. These are systems, and your involvement with nature, you create systems depending on, if you're just in the backyard, you might have a magnifying glass and go out and look at it and talk about it. That's a system. You might go on a camping trip or go to a local resort and look at what's going on. And the preparation and the prevention mindset that you associate with that, those are systems. And you develop them for what it is that you want to do. The B is for your being. Maybe I can share it this way. There's a belonging, being, and becoming. It's sort of like a thread in your life, and you are belonging with the family, your kin, and you're belonging with the grandchildren. And in doing so, you get now a sense of your being, which allows you to become, and in this case, it's to become a grandparent who so enjoys nature and the natural world, you want to involve the grandchildren, or the grandchildren have come to you and said, can we learn a little bit more about the natural world? We'd love you to explore it with us. Either way, it's wonderful, right? It's what I say is tremendous. So those are the first three that are with this triangle here that I just want to take a look at, because there's an hinder aspect to each one of these. So I think you could probably pick it up that from a purpose point of view, what might happen is that there might be something you don't know about, whether it's your own purpose or your own involvement in the outer doors. And I refer to that as ignorance. The knowledge and skills, the concepts and practices that might be associated with the level of interaction you want to have with the natural world. And you can go and get that knowledge and skill because there might be friends who can help you out. There's the beauty of books and courses to which there are those that we provide for you, and or we do list others who can help you to deal with this hindering aspect of the ignorance of not knowing how to get involved with the outer doors in a safer way. So that's one hinder. Another hinder is when you find yourself complacent. And this is a situation where you're not taking action. You find yourself sitting and just going, okay, well, we can talk about it, we can get a book out, but that doesn't enthuse the grandchildren, and they sort of might get a little bit of disappointed. But where is that complacency coming from? That's something you need to ask yourself. It might come from a place of fitness. It might come from a place of what might be going on in your own head about your ability to get up and be active and get involved. You might actually have something of an illness or injury that stops you from getting fully involved, but you can still do story times. You can still write stories. You can still watch some videos. There still are ways that you activity. That's what I'm attempting to get to, is how can you find yourself being involved with the grandchildren? And so that complacency doesn't take over your life and ruins your way of getting to know your grandchildren. Another one that we need to look at from a sense of being is when we find ourselves in doubt. And doubt is an element that could be brought forward because of fear and guilt. It could come forward because you just really have this sense of, well, I've never been involved in the outer doors. I don't know what it is that I need to do. Is there something that I might do that might cause harm? And you work yourself up from a doubt point of view, and that doesn't allow you to be in the moment so that you can find ways in which to overcome your doubt. All right. And that doubt is what really holds you back in being who you truly are, being fully human, being natural, being planetary. And I would encourage you, whenever that sort of takes over in your life, really look at it and see if there's a way in which you can unmask the backstory that's there and find ways in which to deal with it. Now, sometimes the doubt is actually a combination of the ignorance and complacency really putting pressure on you as a person. And once you start to deal with this, it actually can open up the others. And wow, there's a lot of really wonderful activities I can get involved with. There's really lots of resources out there, so I don't have to have this doubt of my involvement with the grandchildren. Now, what also happens is that I might be suggesting it already, this triangle, that there's a dynamic that's happening. And that's where these symbols come in. Because if you've ever watched a cartoon, more read a cartoon, and you see a wagon and you see those kind of signs around the wagon, it suggests in the cartoon, in the drawing, that wagon is moving. And so this is moving, this interactions of the notion of purpose and systems and being, they're moving, just as the hinders that come in don't just all of a sudden on one day they're there, another day they're gone. They're moving, they become present in how you deal with them. So the ignorancy, complacency, and doubt. And therefore, the element of hinder here of this movement is when you find yourself in a place of doctrine. And what I'm referring to from a doctrine here is that it's like a set of beliefs that you hold as true, but are actually hindering you from your involvement in the out of doors, your involvement with your grandchildren. And what it does is it limits your well-being. And this notion of doctrine is like, well, I heard that, I wasn't good in the out of doors, and I went to learn canoeing, and I was told I couldn't canoe. And I went to do arts and crafts, and in the summertime at a summer camp, and someone says, well, that's an ugly piece of artwork. It's these beliefs that sort of over time have come in, and they're limiting your well-being. They're limiting your involvement with the whole. And when you get into the doctrine of these limiting beliefs and they sort of stack themselves on top of each other, that's when you find yourself really in a difficult position. And that's where ignorance and complacency and doubt will grow, and it's not a great place to be. So one of the things from a doctrine point of view, and this is what I would encourage you to do, is I would write my Eco-festo. You may have heard of Manifesto. And Ecofesto is about my home, my habitat, my environment, and how I want to interact with it. And being able to write it down is how much I want to play with the trees, to play with the grandchildren, the out of doors, to get involved with the natural world. And what does that mean? And therefore create a new way of looking at what's happening for you. The word that I would use here is that you re-script your story through your Eco-festo about your involvement in the out of doors with your grandchildren from a well-being perspective. And simply by writing it down, it's sort of like the first step, second step, third step. Then you go into activities that counters your complacency. You overcome your doubt because, wow, that was a really great day. And then, oh, that's something new that I've learned. And I keep moving, right? The Movefesto, Manifesto, Ecofesto. It's get yourself in motion, all right? This is so, so important for overcoming the hinders of wealth, the hinders of well-being. And the last thing that I wanted to share with you is the following, because all of this, all right, influences the resources that you have available to you. And by resources, what I'm referring to is the time, effort, and money that's available to you to be able to interact with the natural world with your grandchildren. What time do you have available, and how do you action that time? It's not so much about time management as it is about action management. Is this a Sunday, Saturday involvement with the grandchildren? Is it during the week? Is it a combination thereof? Sometimes you do more in the summer than the winter. The time element. And therefore, the effort that you put into it is important. Is it something that, oh, okay, is sort of like 10th thing down the list, the to-do list in my life is to go get involved in the natural environment with the grandchildren? That may be true for you. I'm not judging at all here. I'm just getting you to recognize is the kind of effort that you're putting into being with those children and youth that are part of your kin. Just think about it from that perspective. And then from a money angle, it isn't that you have to spend lots and lots of money. There are many ways to be in the outdoors, in your backyard, on the streets that are nearby, in a park that's nearby. It's not about having to spend great amounts of money on getting the newest and latest equipment. Sometimes that actually can get in the way, because there's an interesting insight I share with you. A lot of people think if I've got the latest and greatest technologies, then I'm protected in my involvement in the outdoors. As someone who's taught wilderness remote first aid, it's really about the simpler technologies that you have with you that can really make the biggest difference. And I share the following with you. I always used to say is that whatever you take into the outdoors with you, even to the local park, think through what are the 3 uses of whatever it is that I have with me. I have a belt. What are the 3 uses of belt? I have my backpack. What are the 3 uses of my backpack? Inside my backpack, I might have a handkerchief. What are the 3 uses of a handkerchief? So that if I find myself in some kind of situation that requires some first aid support, and or I just need to break out a bandana to put on the back of my neck to keep the sun off. All these different ways of looking at it doesn't have to come from the latest and greatest technologies and spending money to be able to get there. Sometimes that can be a bit of a hindrance. And so I suggest to you, as you take a look at what hinders you, the elements that might hinder you, also think about it from your use of time, effort, and money. And I'll just give you another example. What time, effort, and money you're putting into learning the resources that would be available to you to break down your ignorance about your involvement in the outdoors, just as it would be is about how do you create the systems that support what it is you're doing so you can overcome the complacency. And what is it you can do from a time, effort, and money perspective to be able to deal with the doubt situations in which you find yourself, and or as you pull all of this together, that time, effort, and money, how does it counter the doctrines that have been set up, these limiting beliefs that have sort of crept into your life, into your world, into your kinship relationships, into the relationships that you have with your grandchildren? And I think you would agree that it's really important to be you with the grandchildren, to be for the world. And that's why I'm going to encourage you to subscribe, ring the bell, comment, like, and share with this video so that we can continue to interact. I can learn from you the questions you have, and maybe there's something here that I need to expand on a little bit more. Let's get involved and let's see what happens. So with that, I just encourage you to not sort of push the hinders away going, well, that's not going to happen. Actually, take a look at some of the ways in which your involvement with your grandchildren in the outdoors, where might there be some hindrances, and find ways in which to deal with them. One of the best ways I can share with you is come prepared. The prevention mindset, preparation approach that you'll hear me mention quite often in a lot of the videos is a really important way. Even when you're walking into the backyard, as you're walking along the sidewalk with the trees and the natural world is close by, walking in the local park, to going and stepping into the outdoors in terms of a place that might be away from your home. You've driven there even to a point of like an eco resort. So hopefully that helps you out to think about it and give you a different perspective, because at every moment, I believe that we're looking to live from wealth, to recreate your extraordinary life, to evolve your legacy, to be in full expression of well-being for the world, because that's you. And I look forward to meeting you, greeting you, and seeing how we might be able to help each other as we move forward in what we're doing for the world and the generations to come. So with that, take care.